The light is red, the kids are in bed, which means it is time for Mile High Musings with me, Aaron Yowell, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. What is good, sports fans? Good morning and welcome to episode 14 of Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Aaron Yowell. I hope you all had a fantastic week and welcome to the first edition of Coffee with the Mile High Man, Morning Mile High Musings. I don't know, but it is the first week that we are going live in the morning instead of the evening. I mentioned on last week's show that I was flipping time slots almost 12 hours earlier because I have the Sunday scaries or whatever it's called, where I get in bed on Sunday nights and I can't sleep because all I do is think about the Monday ahead of me. And I used to think it was because I was a teacher, and now I realize it's just because I'm trying to figure out how crappy my Monday might be at work. But I hope you all did have a fantastic week. It was an up and down roller coaster kind of week for us Mile High sports fans. I will tell you that right off the bat. But thank God for hockey, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot to get to today. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sports fans of all ages, it is time to ascend to the top of the peak and breathe in that rarefied mountain air as I bring you sports takes a mile above the rest. On this morning's episode, we will talk about the Buffs' epic collapse. The Broncos returned to form in that the defense played well and the offense was inept against Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Colorado Avalanche's season is finally here. But before we get to all the good, let us handle our business. For the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to keep up with the latest in sports and with our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website, iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and all of our show pages with personal bios and the podcast feed for each individual show, including this one, Mile High Musings. Check out the show page at iesportsradio.com/Mile High Musings. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeve shirts, hoodies, and so much more. For nearly a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans and for the fans, and we thank each and every one of you for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. What's good, sports fans? It's your boy Aaron Yowell from Mile High Musings here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I am super excited to tell you about a new sponsor on the network, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm's Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket beef jerky offers gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. That's my favorite part. This is some of the best beef jerky you can get your hands on. Check them out online, planetjerky.com. Once again, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that is on a whole other planet. You know, I thought this morning I would have a little bit different energy coming into this, but as soon as that theme music hits, y'all, I am in show mode. That is for sure. I'm going to try really hard this week to not mess up my microphone. I know that if you're an everydayer, that's really... it's kind of scary when all of a sudden my microphone tweaks out. I've adjusted the cables. You know, I work in lights and lighting and audio and visual. You'd think I'd figure this out. but I haven't yet. So I'm gonna try really hard to not touch the microphone, not get close to it, not like pound my fist on the desk during this show, even though it feels like to me I'm bringing the same kind of energy just 12 hours earlier. So let's get into it with what I call a tale of two halves. First and foremost, I must stop predicting literally anything on this show because obviously I don't have a crystal ball and I'm bad at it. For the Buffs, Travis Hunter did play. I said that he was probably going to sit out till after the bye, and he played in this one. And I also wrote this game off, calling it our only guaranteed win for the rest of the season. That aged like milk. Ooh, full disclosure, I've got that second cup of coffee with me. It's going to be a great, great show. So you came out on fire. That's going to be a theme as I'm looking at my notes. It's going to be a theme for this podcast. It's coming out on fire. The defense was getting stops, and Shador could not be stopped. Number 2 threw for 4 touchdowns in the first half and ran for 72 yards on 8 carries. CU was up 29-0 at half, and that was the point I went to bed because it was a 9 o'clock kickoff for me on a Friday night. I was content. I'd seen enough and was dead sure that I was going to wake up to CU having thrashed Stanford. But Saturday morning I rolled over at like 5:30 because I had just this oogie feeling about the game. That was actually the only thing I was right about. Sanders only threw for 1 more touchdown and an INT and ran the ball 5 more times, but for a negative 35 yards. And I realize that stat trackers keep sacks as negative rushing plays, but man, I'll tell you, it was not what I expected. CU ended up losing 46-43 in double overtime. Stanford, who has been around, the football program has been around since 1891, completed the most epic comeback in their school's history, and CU, whose football program has been around since 1890, completed the most epic collapse in their football program's history. So, instead of trying to sound maybe more intelligent than I am, because I do have this problem where I want to be the smartest person in the room, it's kind of like an Alexander Hamilton thing. I don't know. But I want to keep things a little simple, especially, it's the morning for me. So let's just cut straight to the point. CU's defense has no heart or backbone. They not only gave up 1 scoring drive at the end of the fourth quarter, but they also gave up a second. CU was up 10. And then they gave up a touchdown drive. And then they gave up the last second field goal. And then they couldn't stop Stanford in overtime. And that's a problem. Second, this team is not disciplined. Friday night, CU had 17 penalties for 127 yards. And that made me want to look at some numbers. So let's go on a little numbers journey. Cue the Sesame Street numbers theme music. So 17 for 127 in this game. Against Arizona State last week, 8 for 65. Against USC, 7 for 60. Against Oregon, 12 for 106. Against CSU, 10 for 87. Against Nebraska, 9 for 80. And against TCU, 6 for 35. Lack of discipline right now seems to be killing the Buffs. Killing them. In their 4 wins, only one of those games was under 50 yards in penalties. That's not good. Not good, fam. Coach Prime is now questioning his team's love of football, and he has every right to. I'm sorry, but those boys in Boulder are walking around like they've already won everything, and they have actually proved nothing. NIL money. Travis Hunter had a personal camera crew following him in pregame Friday. It kind of made me sick, and I love this team, and you've heard me week after week defending Coach Prime, his staff, these kids, but man, these kids need to shut up and worry about only one thing when they're on the field, and that's beating the guy across from them. They're not doing that consistently, and the last 2 weeks should have been garbage duty games. CU's backup should have gotten lots of reps over the last 2 weeks, but because we played with our food 2 weeks ago in Tempe, and then failed to just come back out of the locker room on the ominous evening of Friday the 13th. the Buffs are really going to have to fight to be bowl eligible, and there are no more easy dubs on the schedule. So like I said, I've defended them week after week after week, but things that the national media have said are coming to fruition. The Buffs are becoming a joke. I love Shedeur Sanders. I think he's a fantastic talent. He's a great quarterback, and he's a hell of a leader. But you got to rally your team, dog, because there are so many kids right now coming into your building or playing against you and hitting your watch celebration after they beat you in the Buffs. Shoot, maybe the boys in Boulder have been listening to the pod and they're hearing me sing the praises since week one. Fellas, if you are listening, it's time to toughen up and make us proud. Shedeur finished the night 33 of 47 for 400 yards, 5 tutties and an INT. It was good to have Travis back. He looked a little gassed on defense, and I don't have his number of snaps played, but he had 13 catches for 140 yards in his first 2 touchdowns of the season. His first one looked like a Madden cheat code where he spun that dude out of his jock. CU dropped to 4-3 on the season, 1-3 in Pac-12 play, and is on the bye next week before traveling to UCLA for a game on the 28th. Boys got to get it together. I'm going to tell you right now. But Prime's calling a timeout, so on the other side, God dang it, let's talk Broncos. You're listening to Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Damn! Green team! Green team! Set! Hey!
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it.
Check out the 3 and Out Show Tuesdays at 6 Mountain. I had the privilege to be on the show this past week with the other AFC West guys. It was a blast. And I was the first one to trash the Broncos. Trust and believe. Don't forget to give our show a follow on X at MileHighMusings_IESR. Y'all, since we've switched to mornings, we're probably going to have next to no people in chat, which is fine. I love the interaction and I love the engagement, but this keeps me on task a little bit more. So, y'all, let's talk about them Broncos.
In this house, we praise the Lord and cheer for them Denver Broncos.
Go Broncos!
That's right. Broncos traveled to Arrowhead to play Taylor Swift, Brittany Mahomes, and the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday night on Amazon Prime. I was working late Thursday, not by design, but it sure ended up being convenient. I'll tell you that. I gotta say I was wrong about this game too. On the 3 and Out show this week, I predicted the Chiefs winning by at least 4 touchdowns. I mean, it seemed like I guess I missed the ugliest game of the year that didn't end in a 70 burger. So, in prepping my notes, I was jumping on ESPN, and I cannot believe that when I click on the game recap on ESPN, the head video or picture, whatever, is T Swift in the box. My God. I was over at week 1 when her and Travis started dating. I'm totally over it now. Make it about football. I get you're trying to market to other fans, but make it about football. So our older QB is looking like his old self. The one from last year. Broncos ended up losing 19-8 in this one. Russell Wilson finished 13 of 22 for 95 yards, a beautiful touchdown pass to Cortland Sutton when it mattered, and 2 INTs. The Broncos didn't even accumulate 200 yards of total offense in this game. And as I was following along on my phone, I was at a theater performance, so no, I couldn't just like throw the game on the Prime app. It seemed to me like we were finally able to run the football. Broncos as a team finished with 115 yards rushing, which was more than the Chiefs had, but Russ was terrible. I think it's not just Russ's fault. And as the season evolves, I don't think it's just the O-line's fault. I think there's a lot of problems that lie with the receivers. First and foremost, their lack of ability to separate. Even Sutton's amazing touchdown catch was over the top of the defender on the play. So yesterday morning, I was at my eldest's tumbling class. I was sitting with my brother-in-law and my sister and their youngest son, because their youngest daughter and my oldest daughter tumble together. They're like BFF besties. And I posited this thought to my brother-in-law. What if our quote-unquote elite wide receivers have looked elite to Broncos fans, and even those of us like me who have coaching experience, because they have been in nothing but rudimentary offenses their entire career? What if Sutton and Judy have looked like world beaters because they're running like a high school varsity offense instead of an NFL offense? And now Sean Payton comes in with an actual real NFL offense and scheme. Are our wideouts able to play in that kind of offense? Is Russ able to lead that kind of offense? Because Russ was in a run first, run second, run third, and then maybe hit him with play action kind of offense in Seattle. And if you notice his wristband, which I don't mind a quarterback wristband, that thing has the smallest print and 553 million plays on it. And my brother-in-law was like, do you think Russ even knows half of those plays? I said, no. Not even close. Broncos held the Chiefs to 1 touchdown and 4 field goals. And at least, the Broncos have played the Chiefs well in the last 2 meetings. Broncos are losing the turnover battle at the end of the day. They're losing the turnover battle at the end of the day. And they still haven't won a game against the Chiefs since I married my very best friend in the whole wide world. So even before the game, there was a lot of speculation on if Jerry Jeudy and Justin Simmons and Cortland Sutton will play and have played their last game as Broncos, and whether or not PS2 is untouchable. And now, even this morning, as I was finishing my prep, trying to wake myself up, I saw a lot of people asking, how long before Russ gets benched? I would guess at all of these things, but I've been so terribly wrong about the Broncos this year that I'm just going to sit back and watch this train wreck. But I will say this. If they're going to bench Russ, do it now. Quit making him and the rest of us guess. It really is too bad that he has an albatross of a contract. Otherwise, we would trade him for some draft capital. Guarantee you that. Because look at what the Broncos have done in the last couple weeks. They have signed some guys to some big money, quick hit contracts. Randy Gregory, Frank Clark, and they've released them. Well, no, Randy Gregory they traded, but Frank Clark, they brought him in on a 1-year, I think $5.5 million deal. He gone. So somebody somewhere has faith enough in Sean Payton for Sean Payton to walk into somebody's office and be like, I don't want him. I'm going to let him go. And they do. Oof. I'm going to tell you what, it's going to be really hard to justify paying for the Sunday NFL ticket next season and maybe in the next couple seasons. Because this team is bad. I'd rather watch, mediocre Cowboys football, or we're already looking last night at dinner. What team can we watch today? I love my Broncos. I don't want them to be terrible. Maybe I need to dial back my love of the Broncos. I don't know. I don't want to invest $400 more next season into the Sunday NFL ticket if I'm going to watch them be 1-16 or 2-15 again because they're trying to get Caleb Williams up to NFL speed. And like I said last week, Broncos country, if you want Caleb Williams, if you're really down for that, that could easily mean 2 or 3 more years of this brand of football. And are you ready for that? Even if Caleb Williams balls out and has an amazing rookie season for us, if we get that far, and here I am already writing that check, and a couple weeks ago I was like, I don't want that. But I'm just looking at, the hypotheticals here. What did we have to give up to ensure that we have the number one pick or that we can pick him? And I don't care how good he is. He just threw 3 INTs last night against Notre Dame. He's human. He's human. I hate losing. And I talked about this, oh my gosh, a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, right before the season started. Baseball, you have 162 games. Hockey in the NBA, NHL and NBA, you have 82 games. In the NFL, you have 17 games, and every loss hurts because every loss can be a playoff changer. Whereas the Rockies lose 100 and some odd games, and it doesn't even faze me, partly because the Rockies are terrible. And they've been terrible all but like 4 years of my entire life. But, I mean, Nuggets lose 20 some odd games last year. They still were the 1 seed. They still only lost 4 games in the playoffs. Avalanche won the division last year after losing, I don't remember how many games. Doesn't hurt as bad. Broncos got to handle their business, man. They welcome the Packers into Mile High next weekend. 2:25 kickoff on CBS. Green Bay is 2-3 on the year, 1-2 on the road. Jordan Love might be the only quarterback in the NFL worse than Russ. So you know what that means, Broncos fans. He's going to have a career day next week. Let's take a break. Lace up the skates, and on the other side, my God, it's time to talk Avalanche hockey that means something. You are listening to Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
We're back, and you are listening to Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Do give the Neutral Zone a listen, because after all, it is hockey season. Oh, y'all, real hockey happened this week. I couldn't be more excited, especially because the Avs are starting on the West Coast. I am a true sicko staying up watching those games. Wednesday night, the Avs opened in earnest in LA against the Kings, and I said it was going to be a trend. The Avs came out on fire. Nathan MacKinnon opened scoring this year and couldn't have written a better script. For this one, there's a lot of speculation of whether or not Jonathan Drouin should be on the first line. Can he hang with Rantanen and MacKinnon? I mean, MacKinnon opens the year scoring with an assist by Rantanen and Drouin. And then the Avs open the floodgates, scoring 2 more at the beginning of the second period. Makar on the power play for MacKinnon and Rantanen. 2:54 into the second. All hail Kale. Y'all doing Kale things. And less than a minute later, Mikko got his first goal of the year on an incredible shot from a ridiculous angle. Kings goalie Cam Talbot lowered his head while he was hugging the right post, and that was all the room the Moose needed. It was crazy. Is and should be a highlight going forward. But then in true Avalanche fashion, they took their foot off the gas and let the Kings get 2 goals to end the second, including one with 5 seconds left that was the product of a blown call, a lost faceoff, the great Cale Makar kind of dogging it because he thought the clock was going to run out, and a wicked bad bounce that threw Georgiev off. And then in the third, the Avs got it right. I think they went into the intermission, and Nate probably yelled at him since the captain's not there. Mikko scored his second of the night, bringing his point total to 4. And then Avs newcomer Miles Wood bagged an empty netter at the end. Y'all, I told you this morning thing could be really great for me. I'm going to tell you right now that we are not going to go a full hour, and I'm kind of okay with it. I talk too much in the evening, I guess. I'll get used to it. So, for Avs games, since there's so many, and we're going to have a lot to talk about, at least like 3 games a week, for each game breakdown, I want to do things that I liked and things that I didn't. It's kind of like my 3 takeaways from each game. If there are 3 things, if there are more, but I'm going to try to keep it to a mirrored 3 and 3. So things that I liked from game 1. The Avs top guys were the top guys, man. 8 points for that first forward line. And Cale Makar scored a goal. Another thing that I liked, man, I love that new third line. I love how gritty they are. I love how fast they are. I love how aggressive they are. That's what they need. That was what they lacked in the Seattle series in the playoffs, and that's what they lacked as a team last year, that overall identity. And a lot of it had to do with injury, and we were trying to piece together basically lines 2 through 4. But our third line is going to be really hard for other teams' second and third lines to deal with. And I said that last week. Another thing that I liked, the PK went 5 for 5. They did not let LA score on the power play. That's a lot of penalties. They didn't let LA score. Things I didn't like from this game. The second line looked rusty, but I'm going to chalk that up to trying to get chemistry, because you have Ryan Johansson in between Val Nichushkin and Arturi Lehkonen. Lehkonen was playing on the first line last year with Rantanen and McKinnon, and Val was hurt a lot. So there's going to be some chemistry things, but I will tell you that over the course of 2 games, my gosh, Ryan Johansson, it's going to be hard to determine what is the pickup of the season for the Avs, because Ryan Johansson looks like exactly what we wanted him for. So even on a bad thing, I'm talking about the good. Second thing I didn't like, Bowen Byram took 2 ding-dong penalties back-to-back in the third. Like over-aggressive, I don't know, adjusting to the speed of real games. Bowen Byram, who is a defenseman whom I love, who I think will be with this team for a while, who's young, and maybe when Taser's gone, he's up there with Makar in that first pairing. He brings a lot of good to the team. He was just kind of a bull in a china shop in game 1. Last thing I didn't like, they're not winning the face-off battle. The Avs still aren't winning the face-off battle. Oh, there's my microphone. I didn't do anything to it. I didn't do a single thing to it. It's freaking out. So this Avs win, for the season, starts the year off right. And Colorado teams whose home is Ball Arena still haven't lost in the Crypto.com arena since, let's take a look. Lakers got swept, Avs get the dub. It's been a long time. Apparently the Avs still own real estate in Crypto.com arena. That's right. Avs actually haven't lost in California in a while, including last night's win. They're 13-0 in their last 13 games in the state of California. So I'm down for that. Between the games, we're going to talk about some front office news. Something occurred Friday night that literally had me screaming in the car. The Avs inked the contract I hoped they would, and I'm sure they did it before Friday, but stuff came out Friday about it. Colorado Avalanche and defenseman Devon Taves agreed to a 7-year contract extension worth roughly $7.25 million each year. This was the deal I was hoping, begging, praying for, because we have McKinnon locked up. We have Rantanen locked up. We have Byram locked up with a bridge contract. We have Makar locked up. This was the defenseman I thought we really needed to lock up. I was asking for it. I hoped we'd get it done. But, I thought that if we got to the end of the year without signing Taves, we were going to lose him. So I'm so happy. I was driving home from work, and I had late weeks. I got out of teaching to not have late weeks, long weeks. It's killing me. And I was about 5 or 6 miles from home, heard the news, clapped my hands, pumped my fists. I was yelling at my truck, shouting a lot of curse words, all of them followed by the word, yeah. Devon Taves is a top 10 defenseman in this league, playing next to the best player in the world in Cale Makar. He's a fantastic leader. And I said during the offseason that if Landeskog isn't coming back and McKinnon doesn't want to wear the C because he should be the next in line, I think there is a very strong case for Devon Taves to be the captain. I know the right choice and the easy choice is either Nate or Cale Makar. But Taves matters to the success of this team. And he's a fantastic leader. Excuse me. I am so pumped that they got this deal done. So pumped. And so last night, Avs traveled up the coast. Well, they traveled the day before, I'm sure. But they traveled up the coast to play the San Jose Sharks. And coming into last night's game, the Sharks have been tagged by a lot of people as probably the worst team in the NHL. And for most of the game last night, that seemed to be the case. This one finished 7.5 hours ago. So it's almost too close in proximity to have revelatory takes on this game. Revelatory takes. What did I say? It's still early. But the Avs came out flying. They came out on fire again. They were dominating in every phase of the game, but Sharks goalie Mackenzie Blackwood, formerly of the New Jersey Devils, stood on his head all night. When they showed a close-up of Blackwood at the beginning of the game, when he's in San Jose, and my wife and my mom who were watching the game with me go, "Who's he?" And I was like, "Oh, he," full disclosure, I don't follow the Devils that much. I just happened to be playing NHL 23 this summer, and my Become a Pro got picked up by the Devils, so I know who Mackenzie Blackwood is. All night, the Avs almost literally threw the kitchen sink at Blackwood, but he shut the door. With 8:42 left in the first, the Sharks took a lead via a tip off a shot from the point. It was a crazy good tip. Flowers to that tip, because it kind of hit Georgiev in the chest in the jersey and still found its way in. But the Avs were able to continue sustained pressure throughout the next two periods, and there were so many times that Blackwood would make a save, and you could see the Avs skaters looking to the heavens for answers, man. Natty Mac, Nathan McKinnon, my dude, the dog himself, had 14 shots on net. That's a number straight out of a video game. My dude was hunting. But finally, in the third period, with 90 seconds left on the clock and Georgiev on the bench, Cale Makar sniped a wrister, and it took both Arturi Lehkonen and Val Nichushkin screening Blackwood for that wrister to get through. All hail Cale. So 1-1, we get some free hockey. In overtime, the Avs had to kill off a penalty. But there was not that crazy overtime freneticism that I saw a lot last year, where the Avs just used their speed and tried to Looney Tunes, be the flying bird spinning around Sylvester the Cat's head. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the ice in San Jose looked choppy. Has it been hot in San Jose? I know your team's bad, but maybe fix the AC in the building. I remember when the Avs first got to Denver and they played the Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals that year. There was so much talk about the ice being choppy. And I don't remember from 2022 when the Avs beat the Lightning in the finals, the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't remember a lot of talk about the ice being choppy. But that is one of the things that I appreciate about Colorado being a cold weather state during the fall and winter, is that the ice is always good at Ball Arena. So for 41 games out of the year, the Avs are going to get guaranteed good playing surface. Georgiev, coming into the second period, even complained about the ice, the condition of the ice in his crease, and made the Zamboni crew basically come out and redo it. I don't know. Fix the AC, boys. So not only did we get free hockey in overtime, but we also got a shootout. And McKinnon still could not solve Blackwood. But the Moose got loose. Mikko Rantanen netted the only shootout goal up and over Blackwood's shoulder. I've watched a lot of replays of this. I don't know how he did it. He's so good. It was so quick. So stinking quick. And at first I thought he went glove side. And he ends up coming back across and going blocker side over the top of Blackwood's right shoulder. And it was just so fast. Bang, bang. But flowers to Mackenzie Blackwood. He ended up stopping 52 shots in regulation, and Georgiev only saw 21. That's really hard for a goalie, because if you're seeing a lot of shots and you're stopping a lot of shots, you're in a rhythm. It's like a jump shooter in basketball. Taking a lot of shots, you get in a rhythm. Georgiev only saw 21, and there were stretches where the Avs were sitting in the offensive zone like they were on the power play. And Georgiev was just kind of, maybe drawn in the sand in the crease since they're on the beach. Maybe it was sandy in his crease. I don't know. Things that I like from this game. We shot the puck a lot, which I ask for every game because we like to be pretty with it. And on the power play, we were 0 for 5, and it was kind of frustrating because I saw on the power play the Avs doing a lot of what we did last year, where we were trying to be too fancy with it. It was really frustrating. The defense looked really solid. That's another thing I liked, especially considering how much we were pressing late in the third. Jack Johnson, who I thought was going to get played right off this roster, was making great plays. Same with Josh Manson. Manson and Johnson were paired together as the bottom three last night, and I really thought that both of those guys were going to find their way off the roster, and they still could by the end of the year, depending on what happens with prospects, but they both played really solid games, especially in the third. Another thing I like, penalty kill was 4 for 4. So the penalty kill is 9 for 9 this year. That's too many penalties that the Avs are taking, but acquisitions of Miles Wood and Ross Colton, plus you have Arturi Lehkonen and Val Nichushkin as an option for the penalty kill. And last night, Andrew Cogliano was back on the ice. So your first PK unit out, which I loved this, was Cogliano and LOC. Avs are stout. They're gritty now. Last thing I liked, Kale was Kale, man. He really is the best player in the world. And I have such a soft spot for Nathan MacKinnon. He's my favorite player on the ice. He's been my favorite player on the Avs since they picked him up. And I think he is next level talent. I think he's just as good as Connor McDavid. But Connor McDavid has to do all the things in Edmonton because they're just not that good. McKinnon doesn't have to do all the things in Colorado because he has Mikko, because he has Kale, because he has Devon Taves. Like, he has toys with him, so his dogs can play. But I was watching him in this game in particular, and I just watched the peak access that the Colorado Avalanche put out on their YouTube page. If you get a chance, I highly recommend. And it was about, I think it was like 20 minutes about Kale from, Alberta Juniors all the way up and through last year, or 2 years ago, in the Cup run. And it highlighted a little bit of him being on the cover of NHL 24. But he is so fast. His puck handling skills are ridiculous. His offensive ability is insane. And the thing that puts him above everybody else is that his IQ is next level. His IQ is next level. He's so good, y'all. And last night, really, watching him, especially the way he sniped that game-tying goal in the third, I went, wow, he is that good. Not that I really doubted it, but I was kind of like, but McKinnon's so fast, and he's such an offensive juggernaut, and I have all these excuses, these yeah-buts for making a case for a guy on his team, but, dude, Cale Makar is him. Things I did not like in this game. We lose a face-off battle again. And it's getting closer. The edge is getting closer because of players like Ryan Johansson and Ross Colton. Things I didn't like in this game. Again, power play was 0 for 5. That's tough. You got to score. A lot of that had to do with the fact that Mackenzie Blackwood was playing out of his mind. And then the last thing I didn't like in this game, the ice. I mean, there wasn't a lot I didn't like. Losing the face-off battle is nitpicky, but the Avs always lose a face-off battle. I want us to score on the power play because we have such intense weapons. There were a couple power plays where we looked like last year's team where we were kind of being too flashy with it, and with the condition that the ice was in, those flashy sweet passes that we were making in LA that led to a goal on the power play, we couldn't make. But all the flowers in the world to Mackenzie Blackwood in this one. 51 saves. If my dude didn't have the game of his life, the Avs maybe hang 10 on the Sharks last night. I'm not kidding. Our Avs are back in action Tuesday up the coast in Seattle. Thinking it might feel like a playoff game. Game 3, and it might feel like a playoff game already. I don't know. It's going to be ugly. 2-1. It's going to be like this. It's going to be gritty and ugly. Maybe the Avs want a little revenge for last year's playoff exit, huh? 8 Mountain on ESPN. It means Wolf. Another late night for you, boy. Because that is a 9 p.m. puck drop, and I am that kind of sicko. For sure. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're only going 3 segments this morning, and that is going to do it for us here on Mile High Musings on IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all day sports. Don't forget to give us on the show here a follow on Twitter X, Mile High Musings _IESR. If you're getting this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, rate and review, 5 stars. I don't know. Y'all, I like the morning. That alarm went off, and it was time to get up, and a couple cups of coffee in. Words are still hard, even after 40 minutes of the show. I kind of liked it. Now the rest of the day is yours. NFL action today might just be background noise, but a big, fat, mile-high salute to y'all. I am so excited. Thanks for being here, and stay good, sports fans.